because of people's attitudes. Well, you know what? What kind of a life do they have? I have a wonderful life, and so do most people with disabilities, but it's not being said.
Well, you know, I have to agree with you. I spoke several years ago at a weekend retreat for people with CP. Most of them were in wheelchairs. Many of them had a very difficult time communicating, at least with me. But they were having a great time. They were playing games. They were talking. They were singing. I mean, I love the way they worshiped the Lord and sang. But you're absolutely right. There is, I guess you'd have to call it a prejudice.
Yes, absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
That's to see that without knowing it. But what you're saying is that we're not good enough to be reporters.
Right.
We're not good enough to facilitate our own future. You don't. It's not something that you are intentionally doing, but the status quo is killing us because people in Canada aren't getting to know people with disabilities, and they aren't seeing what a tremendous attribute they are to the Canadian mosaic.
Are you aware of any countries in the world that are ahead of the game when it comes to this, or are you pioneering something here that the rest of the world needs to see?
Well, I think I think I'm the beginning of. I probably won't see what I'm hoping to accomplish altogether, but somebody had to start. And you know, the Bible says that if a grain of wheat, if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Yeah. And so if I have to die to open the way of access, it's not good enough to give me access for my wheelchair, but not my voice.
Right.
And that's what this culture has done. It has so been focused on access to get into movies and everything else, but the most thing that we need is to have access to the media and to be seen and to be heard.
What kind of response have you received from the various leaders that you have lobbied?
Well, except for Crossroads and Listen Up TV, and of course the government leaders, the Conservative government, other media outlets have not bothered. And so this is what I'm talking about. They won't, I wrote, as you saw, but only Crossroads and Listen Up TV actually responded. No other media outlet even took the time to investigate these issues. And this is tragic.
It's a little troubling, actually, to think of journalism in general that is trained to be objective, trained to take its subjective perspective out of it and just deal with the facts and deal with the issues honestly and openly. It's a little disappointing to realize that even they can fall prey, if you will, to a subculture of discrimination or of misrepresentation. But I guess it's human nature. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Are you encouraged in any way?
Well, I think if, as you saw in one of my letters, if the media is not willing to do this on its own, then I foresee a day when the Canadian government will facilitate, just like they have wheelchair accessibility and everything else. I foresee a day when the Canadian government will say to all the media outlets, this has to change. And they will have to facilitate to other media outlets that people with disabilities have to be given opportunities to speak for themselves.
Right. Now, let's just, we've just got about 4 minutes left. I'm interested in Steven Passmore. I really appreciate what you're saying and the cause that you've embraced and that you're championing, and I think you're absolutely right on. But what's it like living in Steven's skin? You were born this way. You've lived your whole life this way. How have you found life treating you personally?
Well, I've been very blessed because I have always been looked after by the people of Ontario. But as what I want to do is to now look after people with disabilities.
Right.
I want to it's such a burden that when I leave this world, that the culture in which people with disabilities live in is different than when I was their age.
Right.
And so it's difficult. Now I've developed scoliosis, so now I have pain to deal with on a regular basis. But even in my pain, I am going to continue to light the way, to shine the light and say, we're here and we can contribute and we do make a positive difference in our culture, and we just need your help to make people understand that.
Well, Steven Passmore, you're a true champion and very articulate, thoughtful, man of faith. I wish you Godspeed in your work.
Thank you for having me.